So discipline for me once upon a time was actually very bad. When somebody would talk about discipline, part of my whole body would have a reaction. And still, even the thought of, right, the past gives me that reaction. But then a beautiful situation happened where I got in the right community by the grace of God, and discipline transformed into being something actually very positive and wonderful.
I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I think it might be. Is it a river? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever it is, I gotta go. I gotta take the ferry
It's the
across.
river that all of those songs are made, they're referring to.
Oh, okay. What songs? The only song I know is
all that soul music.
Peaches are from Georgia, right? Isn't this the Peach Place or something? That's all I know.
Hey,
about
you know
Georgia.
what? You know what? Don't even start. I haven't had breakfast. That Southern food, that soul food, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner is speaking my name right now. And I've only been to Missouri one time, and I went to this place called Landers or Landis or Land something. Okay, and it was so delicious. And we don't have that type of food anywhere else. Not in Cali. I don't know if in New York. I don't know if it's the East Coast, but that place was amazing. Just
I'll
brings me
probably
back
get some
to the baking there. You gotta go, girl. You gotta go to that.
I will. I gotta.
Over there.
I'm doing
different.
dinner tonight, so
Ooh.
yeah.
Well, so today, your situation with Drake got me thinking a couple weeks ago, because Drake is what, 10, 11?
11.
And he's a complex child and, special education, special needs, however you want to categorize that. I don't like to categorize stuff, but sometimes we have to, because it is important. And when it comes to parenting your child, it's important to know where you stand, where your child stands behavior-wise. In Drake's case, with his medication or not, it depends on each child. But I was thinking maybe we should talk more about discipline in general and how we feel as parents when we have to discipline our child and what that means. Discipline can also be teaching. I come from a place where discipline in my religion or teachings from the church comes from the word disciple. I don't see discipline as a bad thing. I don't see discipline as negative. A lot of people think that it is a negative thing. We'll discuss a little bit more about that. Each take on the mom panel, what you think discipline is for you and why you think it can be negative or positive. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and I'll tell you something about mine. My background stemmed, unfortunately, in domestic violence. So discipline for me was actually very bad. When somebody would talk about discipline, my whole body would have a reaction. And still, even the thought of the past gives me that reaction. But then a beautiful situation happened where I got in the right community by the grace of God, and discipline transformed into being something very positive and wonderful. So we're going to talk about mommy guilt. I know, Michelle, you have a lot to say in that regard with your complex kid.
I feel like I always have a lot to say, but I don't know if I'm the best one to be talking about this, because it also comes from that background. My parents had this belt. It was the white belt. And when we didn't do the things that we were supposed to do, the belt would come out. That's how I grew up. I think that I can say this now because my mom passed away a couple of years ago, but she hit me so hard one time with her shoe that I had to go to the hospital to get stitches on my face. So, things like that, background that I have. And to be honest, it's hard to get away from that. Drake tests me a lot. And I have looked at myself a couple of times and I go, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. It is
Mhm.
so hard when
Right.
things are happening with him. Discipline in my house is a little different for, I think, and I know that this is going to sound so strange, but it's different for Rio and Drake because you have to look at Drake differently. He is mentally, he's a 5 or 6 year old, even though he's 11. The things that he does, like, those are things that a 5 year old would do. But then he's 11 and he's fronting you.
How do you handle that?
Oh my gosh. Not well. Honestly, Jackie, like these past couple of weeks, it's been very, very hard. And so I've been having to rethink a lot the way that I do things with Drake because I know the fuse is so short with him and he's going to explode. I am more willing to give in,
Mm.
which is probably not the best thing to do. So I don't have an explosion.
In fairness, though, Michelle, you have to pick your battles, right? When you're fighting as many battles as you're currently fighting, there are going to be times that's like, you know what? This one's not the one. And I feel like we all have that as parents, like where it's
Yeah.
just kind of like you could fight a battle all day, every day. Ultimately, you have to get to the point that you're like, know what, this one I'm going to relinquish because there's going to be one later where it's more about safety. I feel like you have to give yourself some grace on that, you know?
Right.
Oh, thank you, Jill.
I know, I could
But
hear it.
seriously, it's been hard. It's hard with them. So I think that I'm the one that has the oldest child in the home as of right now. And he's going through puberty,
Yeah.
which makes
Yeah.
things 10 times worse. And then medication that we're going through now, 10 times worse. So it's been fire in the household the last few days, the last couple of weeks. So I will bring this back to something that I think would be interesting to talk about. And I don't know if you probably don't have much about this, but Drake, when he was younger, like
Mhm.
we used a lot of ABA therapy, and ABA was like things like
Mhm.
first you do this, then you get this. First you do this, then you can go do that. So it's the first then, and we did that for so many years with like, I'm going to bring this up because this is an interesting thing. Now, if he does anything,
Mm.
he wants, what is he going to get out of it?
Mm.
That's always the question. So I will do this, but what am I going to get out of
Mm.
it now? And so I am
Mhm.
not kidding you. All these years we've been doing what we were told to do. But now it's like, okay, now I want this. Now I want a phone. Are you going to give me my iPad back? I'll do this, but can I get my iPad? Or I'll do this.
Mhm.
So, and
It's a
then you
constant
give me
negotiation.
constantly. Honestly, I don't know if that is the best way to do this either. That's what I was told that I needed to do with children with special needs. So I've done it with Drake and we've done it with Rio because that's how we've done it at the house. But now here we are. They're older and want to do things for you. They want things.
Right. And there's nothing, so there is and isn't anything wrong with that. And this is why I say that. So with the ABA, there's positive reinforcement, right? So
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys have a Chuck E. Cheese or Hollywood connection, but it's like that concept. Even with your job, when you work, you expect to get
Mhm.
paid. You're not working for free. So in our minds as parents, it's like, well, you're doing it because I asked you to, or because it's the right thing to do. Yes and no. We are teaching them how to become an adult who, with everything you do, there's a reaction. There's a
Mhm.
reward or a consequence for everything
Mhm.
you do in this world. And that's what discipline is, teaching them that there are consequences for your actions, whether it's good or bad, not just punishment. You do something bad, you get a whooping. You do something bad, I'm taking this from you. But what happens when I do something good? Am I not rewarded for the good
Right.
work that I do? And that even go back to the biblical principles. When you do good, you are rewarded. At work, when you're doing good, you may get employee of the month. You get your evaluation at 6 months to a year, you getting a raise. So it's the same principle, but as parents, we feel like it's being taken advantage of because it's like, dang, I asked you to sweep the floor and you asking for $20. Don't you live here? Aren't you going to contribute something? But it's the same concept, just on a different scale. So when we begin to scale things, yes, the ABA is great, but have a system. Is not just every time you do something, it's a accumulation of things. So,
Right.
all right, Drake, you get 5 points if you've taken the trash out. You get 5 points if you didn't throw a tantrum. You get this if you do that. And at the end of the week, these are the things you're able to choose from. At the end of the month, there's this big thing that we can do depending on how many points you get versus every time you do something, you get something tangible. That
Yeah.
way, it's a constant build up versus, all right, I didn't cut up today. Where's my money? Or take the trash out.
But like to your point, Taisha, but it's not like right, even as an adult, because what you're saying is true. And I kind of get the idea of how these systems become ingrained in us. And at the same time, I'm like, there are many things I have to do during the day as an adult that I don't get shit for. Right. Like, but I have to do them. So I think that like
Absolutely.
it is to your
Yes.
point, that balance of, you know
Right.
what? And also some things are just your responsibility. Like I can tell you, just to give one example with early childhood, you know, a lot of people are big on when you're learning to go to the bathroom, right? Like potty training stuff, about like doing rewards when you go. And I always kind of felt like, do you get rewarded for peeing? Is that a precedent I'm setting? Truly, like, so it's like, yes, I want to encourage you're working on this new thing and you achieved it, but how do I do that? That isn't like you're getting a toy, right? So I think there's ways to affirm and work toward different reward systems. That isn't everything. And I think sometimes where people get off base is kind of all or nothing.
Right.
Like either we're getting rewarded for everything we do or punished for
Right.
everything we do, and there's not an in between.
That's right.
Right. Like a balance, because I
A
feel like that's real life
balance,
too. Like, yes, there are
Mhm.
certain things I work
Yeah.
and I receive, you know, compensation or a reward structure when I do something extra above and beyond. And then there are other things that are just my responsibility as a human.
Yes.
Just like I
normal.
exist, so
Right.
therefore I don't
Yeah.
get rewarded for that. So I feel
Mhm.
like it's like, to your point, it's just all balance. And I think, Jackie, to come back to the beginning, discipline, I feel like, is like a bad word or kind of a dirty word because so many of us have the associations like you and Michelle shared, where it was
Right.
punishment, or
Yeah.
perhaps the reaction was not fitting to the action. And that was definitely something, you know, maybe
Yes.
not with
Mhm.
like hitting or, you know, things like that I experienced growing up, but I definitely have a lot of, you know, memories of like that reaction was not necessarily like equal to the thing that happened for like this child who's developing and like figuring things out and learning and like, you know,
Yes.
it sets
Yes.
sort of it sets kind of a
Yeah.
thing up, I think, in children about, you know, where they feel immense shame, they feel fear, and then like we're acting in accordance because we're
Right.
afraid, not because we're learning. Right? Not because we're actually like understanding maybe why that wasn't a great
Right.
choice and what
Mhm.
we could do
Right.
instead. So I think when I think about discipline now as a parent, both for myself and when I'm supporting other parents, it's more about connection before correction. It's more about how is this a teachable moment? Right? Like, so that they're actually learning something from this. It's not just like,
Yes.
you're bad because you did this and you're not going to
Mhm.
do it again because watch what I'm going to do to you. That doesn't actually teach anything, right? It doesn't actually set a boundary in
Mhm.
a clear way or give any kind of like
Mhm.
logical consequence. So I think that's why so many of us as parents now have these really bad associations because of what discipline meant to us. But I think it
Yeah.
actually is a necessary thing. There's like this child psychologist that I love that I'm sure many of you also follow and have read her books. Dr. Becky talks about this idea of parents being the pilot.
Mhm.
And like, can you imagine if you were on a turbulent flight and the pilot comes on and makes an announcement that, like, you know what? it's not safe. I'm going to have to land at this other airport. And, I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. That's what I need to do. And everyone on the plane starts screaming, crying, oh my gosh, but this is going to throw me off. And I was supposed to do this.
Right.
And then the pilot responds by
Right.
saying, okay, you're right. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to fly through the dangerous thing. Can you imagine? So that's like one example of parenting. Or maybe the pilot / parent in this situation is like, shut up. You don't get to feel that. I made my decision. So that's another extreme. What you feel doesn't count.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's like the in between, which is like the pilot that we all want to be on their plane, which is like, I've made my choice. My opinion on it is not going to change. My job is to keep all of you safe. And I also understand that this is really inconvenient and not what you were hoping. And I apologize for that. So there's emotional validation. There's like, I'm still in control. Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that like applies with discipline too and any boundary setting, right? So like that's sort of, I feel like that's where the negativity comes from is for us, we have these experiences that are defined by what it meant to mess up. Right. And then with our kids, I think what happens sometimes is we're so worried about doing that, knowing that it affected us in a negative way, that then maybe sometimes we're afraid to set a boundary at all. Right. Or like discipline at all. And I feel like there is this in between, which is like, no, there are going to be boundaries. There are going to be rules. You don't have to like them. And I respect that. It's hard to live in that space.
And I think that's where, as parents, we confuse, or people in general confuse discipline with punishment because, like, they are not the same. Discipline is something long term. Think about it as adults. If we hadn't been taught discipline at some point, we wouldn't be. That's why a lot of us struggle, especially entrepreneurs or just people in general. We don't have that self-discipline to go to the gym, to to focus, to work on these goals and things of that nature. There was a lack of discipline growing up because all we knew was B to B, belt to butt. That's literally what a lot of us knew. And that's because that's where a lot of our parents and so forth going on. And if we're going biblical, a lot of people took that spare the rod and spoil the child thing. They took it like, beat your child or, you're not going to have control. Right. Or you're not going to have control. Like, I'm getting a beat down because I didn't turn the water off. Wait a minute. Now, we could have had a conversation about this. That did not fit the crime. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, those are the different things
It's
like
so
on
true,
yesterday.
Taisha.
Right. And it's so crazy just thinking back on it. I didn't get whoopings as a child because I was afraid, okay? I made sure I did everything I was supposed to do because I ain't do that whipping thing. I seen what it did for others. I didn't want that for me. So yesterday I was helping my sister move and she has a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So
Is she older?
No, she's the baby.
Okay, you're the first.
I'm the middle. I have a
middle.
How old am I? I have
So
a
you have a
36-year-old.
cushion.
Yeah, unfortunately. I have a nice little cushion. I was helping her move, and my nephew, he was like, I want to play. And I was like, okay, what is it you're trying to play with? He was looking for a drone or something. So he began to cry, and I said, wait a minute, sir. Let's use your words. Why are you crying? Explain to me why you're crying. Then he kind of wiped his face, and he told me, okay, since you can't find your toy, help mommy move the boxes downstairs. He was like, but I don't want to help. I understand you may not want to help, but I want you to look at it this way. You're a big brother, so you are making decisions to help out in the household. You have to bring something to the table. So let's take the boxes and let's move downstairs. And as he was doing it, at first he was kind of like, but as he began to do it, and it was like, look at you. You're such a big boy. You're doing a great job. Mommy is so proud of you. And he was like, oh, mommy, can I help? Can I help? And it was like, yeah, because there's a sense of belonging. And a lot of times kids feel like they belong in a child's place. But it's like, exactly what is a child's place? And I honestly feel like even in this field of social work and after all of the training I've done over these years, I feel every parent should be required to take childhood development so they can understand what it looks like at each stage. In those stages, that's where that mistrust and trust is done. Like, if I'm always, I'm fearing, the different things that goes with Erickson, and it's just like, wait a minute.
That's right.
This is normal. So why am I beating my child or fussing
Right.
at my
Like
child for
our
something that's
expectations
normal?
are off.
So it's out of
Exactly.
our ignorance.
100% agree with you.
Yes. Yeah. And it's our ignorance. Out of our
Yeah.
ignorance,
Yes.
we are punishing
Yes.
our children, not discipline them. And now they're having to grow up and unlearn and try and figure out where did something goes
Yeah.
wrong, because now there's a disconnect. And I'm emotionally unavailable as an adult. I don't know how to set boundaries. I don't know how to do these things because it wasn't shown to me as a child.
And I want to add on that, Taisha, because I think there's a difference. That difference you're speaking of, punishment versus discipline, that's where the mama guilt is stemmed from.
Oh, yes.
I think
Absolutely.
that is where we need to look at what we're feeling after the fact. Was it punishment or was it discipline? Could it have been more discipline that would relieve that guilt? Next time, let's try that. Versus, I feel really guilty. I think I overdid it. Probably you punished, right? There was, and again, the mom guilt is going to be, the shame is going to be all across the board all the time, very hard. And it's not to shame you at all here on the podcast. We are all probably guilty of overdoing it. Even the yelling. I'm guilty of the yelling.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
we yell all the
Oh
time
my
in the
gosh.
house. Oh, who doesn't yell? How is it possible to not yell? Like, I don't know how
Anyone
to
have the answer?
function without yelling.
No.
So
the only
can't.
answer that I have, and it's hilarious. This is a Black culture thing, okay? Black alert, Black alert. I don't know what it's like in any other culture, but in this culture, and it could be just a Southern Black thing,
and Latino,
you are probably going to get disciplined and punished at the same time and not know it. This is what I mean by that.
You're not going to know it.
You're not. Because you're going to be getting a whooping. And they're going to be explaining to you, I told you not to, yada, yada, yada. And you better not do it no more. Like, why you're whooping me? Like, I'm crying, I'm being whooped. But you telling me what I shouldn't do again. And the favorite one is, it's going to hurt me as much as it hurt you. Well, I'm the one that's getting beat, right? So I think the Black culture, we did a disclaimer. Like, listen, this is a disclaimer. I'm hurt because I got to whoop you, and I know it's going to hurt. Also, I'm whooping you, but while I'm whooping you, I'm letting you know why you getting a whooping. Can we just have a conversation at first and get rid of the whooping? Right. So it's you know, that's just one of those things that I found funny, you know, within the culture. But as we continue to grow and have these conversations, I do feel in my heart of hearts that things will shift for cultures all over, not just the Black culture. I don't know what it's like in the white culture. I don't know what it's like with Brazilian or with Latinos, but I know for us,
La chancla. That's what it is for Latinos.
You know what la
chancla is? You guys see it on TikTok or wherever socials, even reels on Instagram. You see a Latina and now it's a joke, right? And we aim with a slipper. It's a slipper in your hand. And then we aim to a target. And now in baby showers, kid you not, there's a target all the way over there. And we aim to the target with la chancla, with the slipper. And we try to, you know, it's a trend. It's actually a trend. It's an ongoing joke that Latinas, we have good aim. Because did you just say that to me? And we take off our slipper.
Yes.
And then, whoo. And then
it hits them every time.
It hits them. It hits them
every time. You're taking off a slipper
5 meters away.
Listen, it's whatever you find. Whatever next to you, I'm going to throw it. And I just be like, whoop.
My mom threw a tomato at me one time. She's never going to live it down. Never going to. A tomato. It landed, like it went whoosh. And it went on the wall, and I was pissed, not because of the way that she threw it at me or that it hit me. I was pissed.
I said, you had to clean it up, huh?
No, I had just blown out my hair. It was like, till this day, she's like, wow, you still remember the tomato. You're lucky it wasn't the knife. She's like, she was cutting the tomato.
Exactly. You're lucky it wasn't a knife. It was just a tomato.
I hate it. I'm like, what the heck?
And that's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
So
Jill is looking like, oh my God, I can't
True.
believe y'all went through that.
Honestly, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you guys can laugh about it and like, but I do feel like I feel a little disturbed.
Right.
Well, no, but I had my own, like, I didn't have that. I did not have that, but I definitely had a lot of reactions that were disproportionate to the thing. And I had a lot of fear based, but it was more like yelling, talking
Yeah.
fear based. So like I have like I don't have experience with that. No one has thrown things at me, but like I do have the experience of like I messed up cuz I'm learning, and like the reaction is so big and I feel so much shame and I feel like so bad about myself that now I'm like terrified to ever fuck up. And like I carry that to now, right? So it's like we all like kind of like carry our things
Yeah.
differently. Like that, I just have no, it's so
Yeah,
foreign
no.
to me. But I do
True.
understand the experience of what the hell, that doesn't feel right for what just happened. And also what that then does to you psychologically, which is part of why like I feel it so much with kids. But I think also as you're saying all of this, I have empathy for the adults and past generations too, because I feel like all of this comes from lack of self-regulation. You can't teach skills you don't have. You can't help your kid through a hard moment if you can't help yourself through a hard moment. And I think something that's happening in this generation of parenting that's really exciting, but also really hard, is changing that. Hey, that didn't serve us so well. And I think when you look back on generations, you see the growth. I think my parents did a lot better with that stuff than their parents, right? And I've grown a lot from them, and my daughter is more emotionally healthy than any of us. So let's hope and pray that for her, it'll be even better for her children should she decide to do that. I feel like so much of this is like when you can't control yourself because you get so dysregulated by whatever the thing is that triggered you, then you go into what from a brain state is like survival brain. You are at the lowest state of your brain. So for a really young kid, that looks like full-blown meltdown, crying on the floor, thrashing, biting, hitting, right? But we have our own version of being in the survival state. And that's like what you're describing. That is like I am reacting
100%.
without thinking.
Yeah.
I can't get to a centered place to handle this rationally. Ultimately, what it comes down to is I don't feel safe. So whether you're the kid who's biting and thrashing because you don't feel safe, or you're the adult who's throwing fruit because you don't feel safe, it ultimately comes down to the same thing. So as I'm hearing this and you're reading my facial expression, some of it is because that was not my experience. So I'm maybe taken aback by it, and also your ability to laugh at it, which I give you a lot of credit for. But then the other part of it is that, which is I'm just kind of like, also how sad for them. I feel more sad for the other side, but there's like that too,
So,
you know?
Jill, you touched on something, and I actually have been thinking about it for the last little while that we were talking. I remember this, and I was not married yet. I went home to Brazil, and I was home for 10 days. It was still in our old house where we grew up. My dad came for lunch because lunch is the big deal at home. My dad just came to visit because I was there. I remember this moment because it was very meaningful to me. We were sitting on this hammock and we were talking, and I think I brought it up. I don't know how this came up, but it came up like, this is how you guys did this, right? You had the white belt. Like we were scared to death of the white belt and things like that. And he looked at me and he's like, we didn't know any better. Like, this is like, and I'm not giving this as an excuse because all of these years now, I look at you guys and you guys are doing such a better job looking at my sisters, right?
Absolutely.
Because they had the kids at the time. But I regret what we did to you kids. But then, at the same time, I also remember my mom saying, like, my dad used to have us kneel on rice for hours. Have you tried kneeling on rice? Like, that was the punishment, kneeling on rice. And so
they do that in El Salvador right now with the inmates, by the way.
It's crazy. That's what they knew. of course, I think that's why we laugh, because it's like, okay, well, they didn't know any better. Here we are trying to do better.
Mhm.
Can we do better? Can we not do better? How are we doing? I think that's why we can laugh about it. It's because,
That's
you know
right.
what? Yeah,
we
the
survived.
We got
sad
through it.
part of it. The sad part is that they probably went through something worse than we did.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so things
100%.
are just changing,
Yes.
which each generation. And
That's it.
you throw in there like complexities, complex kids, or you throw in there, you know, kids who have whatever. And then it's like a whole other level of stuff, and they test you. And so
Just like they're supposed to do, by the way. I
Yeah.
want to put that
Yeah.
out there. It's completely healthy that a child
Yes.
tests their parent and their authority.
Yeah.
Tell you guys something. So
Yes.
I my training, my background is in like conscious parenting and respectful, whatever you want to call it. And I really, when I got into that and started training, even before I was a parent as a teacher, it totally changed my life. It was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense. This is what I want to be able to do. I'm going to try to learn everything I possibly can to get the tools so that I can do it and I can help other people do it. And I believe in it so much. And I'm telling you right now, as a parent who is parenting in this way, not only is it the hardest thing I've ever done to try to regulate my own crap, to be centered and grounded enough to be able to help my daughter have those tools, right? So there's that part that's so hard when I'm wired with all the things that we're talking about. But there's this other piece of it, which is that parenting in this way and going a different direction is not about control and compliance. It's about collaboration, right? And connection. But that's a slower road. What happens sometimes, and I talk to parents all the time that I work with, but I have felt this
A
myself.
much harder one.
Is I have had moments, especially of late. My daughter is getting close to 5. And things are shifting. We've also had a lot of change and we're having more coming, right, with this baby. And I know that's affecting things. But there have been days lately where I'm just like, this is why people yell. This is why people hit and punish, because it freaking works. This isn't working. Like, I get pushback on like every single thing, right? I get pushback on every single thing. And I have to kind of like, when I'm not in that state and I can be rational, those brief fleeting moments. But when I come back to it, I'm like, well, what do you want? Who's this person that you're trying to help send into the world? Do I want a child that's going to just like, who then grows into an adult, right? Who's just going to comply with everything someone else says because, that's what being a good person is? Or do I want her to say her opinion and stand up respectfully? No, I mean, when I tell you that this kid will say stuff to me like, hey, Mama, I said how I feel. Please respect my no. She's 4.5. I'm like, but I'm like, you know what? I did that. I wanted in that moment. I don't want to direct it at me. Like when I'm trying to get you to get dressed so we can leave. But ultimately, do I want her to be able to go out in the world and do that? Yeah. So I think we have to remind ourselves that if that's what we want out in the world with others, when they're in a relationship that's not serving them, when someone comes at them in a way that is not the way they deserve to be treated, if we want them to be able to do that, then we have to accept that we're going to be receiving some of that as they navigate what that means. So I share this because I have had those moments, especially lately, where I'm just like, oh my gosh, is it all just a lie? Does none of it work? You have to then remind yourself, well, what is work? Because at the end of the day, this is actually what I want. It just is hard in the moment to all day long be navigating that stuff. And as they get older, it gets harder because they can express things differently,
I hear you.
It is.
It's exhausting.
Oh my gosh. Rio, she's 8, going on 16. And I truly mean that because she's not 8, she's 16. And she's already like, can I drive, Mommy? And I'm like, you're 8. You don't even reach the car.
Michelle, I'm scared.
Oh my gosh, guys, it's crazy. But, you're talking about discipline and respecting the no. Oh my gosh. Just
can't
wait until they
imagine.
turn 8 or 9.
Wait, can I
Jill.
ask you, Michelle,
It's
about
it's
Rio real
crazy.
quick?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
we're all girl moms, and I gotta just ask you, have you ever sat down? She's ready for like so many of these conversations that are not, they're PG. They're PG, all right? They're still rated PG. Girl, I'm just saying.
I have like 4 books waiting with pictures and stuff for me to sit down and have this conversation
Okay,
with
but just
her.
start slow. Why don't you like do like a
no,
little
yes. It might be too much information. It might be a little TMI what I'm gonna drop here, okay? But I get ready naked because I'm always sweating as I'm trying to blow dry my hair. So I'm in my bathroom, that's how I get ready. So and for some reason, my kids think that it's okay to come in there and, so we are changing that because of Drake. I have been more conscious about it because of him. It is time to start talking about
Well,
these
but just
things.
even like the driving.
Oh.
Let's go there if it makes you feel more like safe.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. This
Okay.
is fine. But here's the thing. I never had the talk. Never with my parents. My mom never told me anything. Nothing whatsoever. So I don't know how to have this talk. So when my brother visited, he has a daughter who's 11 and she's already, getting older. So, she was wearing a bra and things were happening. Rio was like, okay.
Curious.
But she looks at my boobs and she goes, I'm going to have boobs like yours, right, Mom? And I'm like, yes, you will. And so, I mean, we have talked about things like what's going to happen to your body, but I don't think that we talked about, the birds and the bees yet.
Some other little kid told me about it, so I'm not sure that was the right way.
So maybe,
Oh, wow.
you could watch little shows that hint at it and allow her to ask questions and you answer them, said questions or whatever. Or you can get like, I'm sure there are some type of cards, like a game or something. If not, you can create a little card game. Y'all pull the cards and answer the questions as time progresses.
So, okay. I'll share this because I thought it was very interesting. When I talked to Rio's psychologist about this, she gave me a few books. I ended up getting like 3 of them. A couple of them are for girls only. The other one is for both of them. And I don't know how we went from discipline getting whooped to this.
I just wanted,
I just wanted to throw this out there, but here we are. Okay, but one of the really cool things she sent me was how to talk about this with complex kids. And so there's a whole thing, and you don't talk about it all at once. You bring, like, as things are starting to happen, that is when you start, like, you go little by little. And there's pictures, very simple pictures that are explaining why you're stinky, like, why you're,
you stinky.
Oh my gosh, Drake is stinky as hell. Like the other day, I honestly, like I almost passed out. I was like, oh, my son, let's go get you in the bath right now. And we got to put some deodorant under those armpits.
Can I
You are
just say real
killing me.
quick, because
So-
I can see Jill and Taisha, they have no idea. They don't have sons, and they're never going to know unless you have a boy, either of you. But it is really hard to not say something because it's pungent all the way across the room. Like they just went to sweat
It was
and
awful.
came back with like a bunch of BO, and then now they have flies and you can see them from the corner. Like it's very
Flies flying around them.
flying around them.
Flying
around them. Like it's pungent.
Oh, and it's not every day. So his hormones, it's not every day that he gets.
It's not
sweat.
every day. Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, we're like, and so.
But
anyway,
how do you open the conversation, right? Like, how do you tell them?
With him, it's going to be very different than it looks for Rio. With Rio, I can sit down and I have her read the book, and then we can talk about the book. With Drake, if I get like 2 seconds with him before he goes to sleep, and he, it's like when he's like actually paid attention to what I'm saying, like that will be a big thing. This is part of teaching them, right? You got to teach them about things. You have consequences for things. And we John and I have been trying a lot harder with this, with actually being more in tune with each other on the boundaries and how we discipline the kids, because we spoil them. And I think that is one of the things that comes with older parenting, because we're further along in our career, so we have more than a 20-year-old
offer.
would have to offer. And so, we are worried about them being spoiled. But those are things like consequences to what's happening. Drake broke his iPad, and I said, okay, that's the consequence. It's broken. And then a couple of months later,
That's what I did.
Grandpa
That's
goes
what
and
I did.
buys him a brand new one.
Oh,
So that's
shoot.
kind of, all the time, all the time.
No.
The
Oh, no.
spoiledness in our household is ridiculous. And so, but we are coming together, I think, because of the heightened state with Drake. We are trying to talk about him a little bit more and
As
actually
a
trying
village.
to, yes, the two of us, you
Okay.
know.
I want to
Anyway.
take a pause real quick. Jill, I want to check in with you. I know it's that hour already, and we might segue into a couple things. I would love to hear any last words before you get off, and then we'll segue into discipline without damage. Is it possible? That's where I want Jill's opinion. Discipline without damage. Is it possible,
I mean,
Jill?
I believe yes. And like we touched on this a little bit earlier, I think it can be positive. I think boundaries are a necessity.
Right.
If you think about going back to that pilot example, if it's just like every time our child doesn't like the thing that we're saying because we're trying to keep them healthy and safe, which is our job, we just say, okay, then we don't have to. We're actually doing them more of a disservice. And I think particularly with young children, they don't feel safe when we do that. That actually, like, for them is the equivalent of like, right? Like that's actually
Very good
terrifying
point.
to feel like, wait, I'm 6. Like, why am I in
Very good
control
point.
here? You're the grown up, right? So I
I'm just
think
a
like we
kid.
have to think about it like that. And if we do, then we kind of have a reframe, because it is an opportunity for, developing, as Taisha was saying, like self-discipline, self-regulation, understanding life has boundaries. And there are going to be expectations. We want those to be developmentally appropriate, which we also touched on, because sometimes our expectations of our kids are not. And it helps them to be more responsible human beings, more empathetic human beings, right? I think the key is that we have to look at it not about obeying and complying and just being a rule follower. And instead we have to focus on like, well, what are the actual values and lessons here that I want to teach and why? So I think a lot of that comes from modeling, right? From us modeling things and talking about natural consequences, logical consequences. So if you're going to leave your toy outside and then it rains and it got ruined, like, it got ruined or it might get lost, and then still empathizing with, I know that's really upsetting, right? Like that sucks. And yet here we are, right? And again, like
Right.
connection before correction. Like I keep coming back to that. Like,
Mhm.
we have to be regulated in order to help our child get through difficult moments and regulate them. And two, that we want to focus on, maybe you did a thing that I don't like, right? Or that was unsafe, or that is unlike the person I know you are. But that doesn't make you bad. We have to separate. That's where I feel like so many of us are kind of like messed up. Right. Behavior.
The
All
behavior.
feelings are welcome. All
Mhm.
behaviors are not. Like, you're not a bad kid or a bad person. We had this bad experience, or you did this thing that was not great and not in accordance with the person I know you are. If we think about discipline more as guidance, teaching, helping, rather than control, I don't think it's bad, and I don't think it's damaging. I actually think it's necessary. And I think that even though they're not going to say, thank you, thanks, mom. Like, no, that's not going to happen.
Because we search for that sometimes, the approval. Yes. I just want to say I love you, ladies. If I was a listener, I'd listen to us. because honestly, like Michelle, Jill, Taisha, you bring so much to the mom panel, and I love the wisdom that comes out of each and every one of you. And it just, different backgrounds, different points of view, but all like just beautiful, beautifully said, beautifully stated every episode. And thank you, Jill, for coming back. You guys are not going to know this because the edit's not going to show it too much, but I'm telling you, Jill made an effort to come onto the, to the episode today. Thank you, Jill.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.